go to grace and peace be multiplied unto you all. For those of you out in the internet land, we hope that you have certainly been rested, and we hope that the scriptures that we're going to go through today is going to be edifying to your spirit and to give you new zeal. I want to deal with the horns and the carpenters. The horns and the carpenters. Now, I taught this several months back, maybe over a year ago or so, but I've never really gone into details. Hopefully tonight we can go into details. We only have we only do this for an hour, so I want to see how much detail we can get out of this. Now, I'm going to be very repetitive with many of the scriptures I'm going to cover. So you're going to have to just see with me with that. But I definitely want our people to get it. Go to Zechariah chapter 1. We're going to read Zechariah chapter 1. All right, Zechariah chapter 1, and we're going to read from verse 20.
Yes, sir. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 1 and verse 20. It reads, "And the Most High showed me 4 carpenters. Then said I, What come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head.
Go on.
But these are come to frighten them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles."
Now let's see who has remembered any of this teaching and who can tell me what are the carpenters? What are the carpenters? What does it represent? Can somebody please tell me? I don't care if you go back into your old notes, you can do as much as you want there, but it's important that I can see that you have some recollection of who or what is the carpenters. Do that as quick as you can, and if you can't, then no problem, we're going to still go into it anyway. Can jump back, read from verse 18 on down.
Come, the book of Zechariah, chapter 1, verse 18. "Then lifted I up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, 4 horns.
4 horns. Who can tell me what are the 4 or who are the 4 horns? What or who are they? Can anyone tell me? Anyone? 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 Yes, sir. Go ahead, John.
The 4 Gospels?
No, sir. Anyone else? Anyone else? Try some of the sisters. Anyone else?
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Let's read verse 18 again.
Come, Zechariah chapter 1 and verse 18. "Then lifted I up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, 4 horns.
So he saw and beheld 4 horns. Who or what are the 4 horns? That is the question. Want to give it another shot? Go ahead, sir.
4 corners?
No, sir. I can see why you would assume that, but not really, no. You're not far wrong. Let me come back to you. Because if I make it too hard, it's going to make your mind overstretch. 4 corners. 4 corners of what? No. All right. And go ahead, sir. You got something for me? Say that again, sir? Yeah. It says 4 horns. So you're saying what, sir? 4 nations? Yeah. You're right. It's 4 nations. Now, let's look at this a little bit. First of all, I would like you, I'm speaking to those that are here, but those who are online, I want you to take heed also. It's very important that you take good notes. These are the type of scriptures you can't afford to just skim by. And sadly, many of our students, they skim by them, and later on, they don't have sufficient notes to back up. So when we look at the four horns, always remember, let part of the mind hook or the memory hook to help you to remember that. The altar has four horns. The Hebrew altar has four horns, right? Now, does it speak of four nations? You're absolutely right. So, although I've used the horns in that regards, that's not really what it's pointing to. It's not really pointing to the altar. Use that as a memory key, a memory hook, right? But it's speaking of four nations. Now, who can tell me who are the four nations?
Let me get a pastor.
One moment. Give me, no. Put your hand up, and I'll say to you, right, you had your hand up.
Grace and peace. Greece.
Oh, why do you say Greece? All right, back to Johanna.
No, I was gonna say about the Africa. I was gonna say continents: Africa, Asia, America, the fourth part of Earth, and Europe.
That's good. That's good. That I could see why you would do that, but no. Let's go to the book of Daniel. Let's break this down in bite-sized portions for everyone. Daniel chapter 7. Book of Daniel chapter 7. Now you're going to see why Daniel is such an important book. Daniel, Zechariah, the book of Revelation, the book of Isaiah, the book of Jeremiah. These are important books that you can't read and overlook them. You have to read them, and you have to always remember that what's referred in one book is also referred in another.
Okay.
And that's why we're looking for the association as to what is it trying to tell us? What is the precept in this? Daniel chapter 7, begin at verse 19.
Yes, sir. The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 19, it reads, "Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast."
Of the fourth beast. So now it's speaking about the fourth beast. Read on.
Come, which was diverse from all the others.
He was different from all the other beasts. Now remember, when we look, who can tell me, where do we find that in the Apocrypha? Who's going to tell me where do we find it in the Apocrypha? Where do we find that in the Apocrypha? Because it speaks of the fourth beast in the Apocrypha. So where do we find that? All right, to save a lot of time, I want you to turn your Apocrypha to page 29, which is 2nd Ezra chapter 12. All right. Let's begin reading, if you please, at verse. Let's begin at verse 9.
Come, the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12 and verse 9, it reads, "For thou hast judged me worthy to show me the last times."
2nd Ezra chapter 12 and verse 9.
Yes, sir. That's wrong.
Yeah, go ahead, read it again.
"For thou hast judged me worthy to show me the last times.
Continue.
And said unto me, This is the interpretation of the vision."
This is what?
This is the interpretation of the vision.
Let me repeat again. 2nd Ezra chapter 12, and we're reading now 9 and 10.
Come.
Now about to read verse 11. Read.
Verse 11. "The eagle whom thou sawest come up from the sea,
Come where?
come up from the sea,
Go on.
is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel."
Stop. Now go back and read 19 again.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 19. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast.
Of the what?
Of the fourth beast.
Go on.
Which was diverse from all the others.
It was what?
Diverse from all the others.
Diverse from all the others.
Come.
Now, do you have a question, sir?
Yeah, the answer from my notes, Caesar Augustus.
No, sir. So, okay. What you gave, you said Caesar Augustus.
The fourth beast was Caesar Augustus.
Yeah. Right. Now, if you're reading in the Apocrypha, to throw out a blank statement like Caesar Augustus, it's good for the answer that we're seeing here, but it's not good for the overall answer, because the overall answer is a little bit more detailed. All right? Go ahead, sir.
When we talk about the eagle, we're talking about all the eagle that is still alive. We try to Rome. They use eagle as a symbol. All the rest of them, and they want, and people like to say, "Well, it's going to America," but it's not America with the eagle. Rome is
Say
still.
that last bit again.
America has the eagle.
Uh-huh.
Greece had the eagle,
Come on.
and Rome has the eagle.
Mhm.
But America is just a part of Rome. That's the one that they're talking about, because it has the eagle too.
All right.
But it's
I see where you're going. All right. Just stay clued into me for a moment. Daniel chapter 7, and begin reading, if you please, at verse 3.
Come. The book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 3, it reads, And 4 great beasts.
Notice the word, 4 great beasts. Go on.
Come. 4 great beasts came up from the sea.
From the sea.
Diverse one from another.
All 4 of them were different from each other. They were not all the same. But it says that they came up from the sea.
Come.
Now let's see, what sea is it speaking about? Jump back, if you please, and read verse 2.
Come. Daniel chapter 7 verse 2. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision.
I saw in my vision. Daniel gets a vision. He sees a great sea. From that sea, he sees 4 great beasts emerging out of it. Now remember, Daniel could only see things that were figurative, symbolic. Even though he saw beasts, the beasts themselves were representative of times, representative of culture, representative of nations. Are you with me so far?
yes.
So, with that in mind, when we read, he says,
Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of heaven
Go on.
strove upon the great sea.
upon the great sea. Now we have to understand, we've just read in verse 3 about the sea. So what sea is it speaking about? The sea is important because it lets you know a geographical location. So the Great Sea is the Mediterranean Sea. Make a note of that.
Right.
Just listen up for a moment. Learn a minute. It's the Mediterranean Sea. Then when we read verse 3, it says,
And the 4 great beasts came up from the sea.
what sea? The Mediterranean Sea. Continue.
Diverse,
Different.
one from another.
They were not the same. They were beasts,
Yes.
but they were not the same. Now, when you read through the account of Daniel, especially when you read verse 4, read.
Verse 4, the first was like a lion.
Like a lion, all right? Now, the nation that uses a lion, in fact, when you go to the museums and you see this particular nation, it always is represented by this particular creature, and it is a lion.
Come on.
All right? Now, Then when we jump down to verse 5, read.
And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear.
Like to a bear. Now you have to look at who or which nation uses a bear as part of its insignia. All right, you got your hand up, so what are you saying, sir?
Grace and peace, Russia.
No, sir. That's why I said sometimes it's good just to listen a little bit. Don't jump the gun, just listen. I promise you, I'll give you my word, my life. I will not let you leave here without knowing it. I'm going to give it to you. So when we read that, read it again if you please, sir.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear.
Like to a bear. All right. Run just real quick as a sidebar, Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and 18. Just quickly run there.
17.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and 18.
The book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 18. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men.
The sons of who?
The sons of men.
Go on.
That God might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts.
Are beasts. So now when we use the word beast, we see it speaking about men. We know it's not speaking about literal beasts, it's speaking about men. But Daniel saw beasts because the Most High God wanted it to be codified and only to be revealed in the time of his choosing.
That's right.
That's why when people say there's free will, hogwash. If there was free will, that means people could do as they want, but he controls everything.
That's right.
Jump back to chapter 6. I want you to read verse 12.
Come, Daniel chapter 6 and verse 12.
The answer is in the very end of the reading, but don't read it yet. Read with everybody else so you can get the understanding. Read.
Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree.
Go on.
Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions?
Read.
The king answered and said, the thing is true.
Read.
According to the law of the Medes and Persians,
There's your answer.
which altereth not.
Which alters not. So when we go back to Daniel chapter 7 and verse 5, we are speaking here of the Medes. Come. Jump to verse 6.
Verse 6. Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard.
Like what?
Like a leopard.
Read on.
Which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Now, first of all, the leopard is representative of Greece. Now, why is it representative of Greece? Because Greece used a leopard skin with one man and one man only. In much of the imageries that you will see in the museums or in any artifacts, but pursuant to that of Alexander the Greek, you will see him wearing a leopard skin. He's the only one as a leader that you see throughout history or past history of antiquity that he wore a leopard skin. Now, isn't it something that Daniel saw him and saw this man to be a beast who would come and conquer the known world of its time? This is Alexander the Greek. Now, it says that he had on his back, it had 4 wings of a fowl. Now, they use the word fowl to let you know that it's speaking about winged creatures. It could have said bird, but see, birds really goes into a small category of small bird. But it's using the word fowl because there are fowls that have greater wingspans. Now, why does it say that this leopard has 4 wings? Why? Yes, sir.
when he passed, he gave it to 4 generals.
No, sir. No. No. Now, I understand why you would assume that it would be for his 4 generals, but that is not. What you have to look at is this. The beast, which is the leopard that it speaks of, is one of the fastest creatures on the earth. Right? Leopard moves quickly, right? Now, to have wings on it means it moves even quicker. That's why Alexander the Greek, as a young man, conquered the whole new world before he was 25 years of age. This young man conquered everyone, beat them. It's only a young man. But that leopard and its speed, and with 4 wings on its back, 2 on either side, shows you the speed of which he had been assigned to him by the Most High for him to conquer the world at the speed that he did. Everywhere. Everywhere in the known world at that time, he had them under his control. That's powerful. They don't even teach that in school. Everyone should leave school knowing those basic things, but we don't. And so you see then that it's speaking about that in that regard. But now watch what it goes on to say. I want you to read verse 6. Notice we only read the first portions of the other verses. Right. But verse 6, we're going to read all of it because there's a point to that. Go ahead.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Read.
The beast had also 4 heads.
Go on.
And dominion was given to it.
And dominion was given to it. Now, sir, the 4 heads now, that is more appropriate to what you were saying earlier. You with me so far? Good. Because I don't want to open my mouth on it because I don't want to teach it. I don't want to go down that road. Now, jump now to verse 7.
Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible.
Notice what it's saying about this beast. It is dreadful, it is terrible. Read.
And strong exceedingly.
Exceedingly.
And it had great iron teeth.
It had what?
Great iron teeth.
Great iron teeth. Underline the words, great iron teeth. Underline them. Because there's a reason for that. Because it's now speaking of the nature of this beast. Go on.
It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Go on.
And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
That were what?
That were before it.
That were before it. Go on.
And it had 10 horns.
And it had what?
10 horns.
And it had 10 horns. 10 horns.
Right.
Now, most people turn around and say they know who this beast is. Well, let me ask, who is this beast? Right, I see 2 hands. Begin at the back. Yes, sir.
The European Common Community.
No. Now, I know why you said it is the European Commonwealth or the European Community or Union. I know why you said it, because of the 10 horns, right? Right. But you see, again, this book is written in the way that it's also divulging history to us. Read it again, sir.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions.
I thought this was going to be a quick lesson, but it's not now. But go on.
And behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly.
Now, it's telling you this because this beast was indescribable. They couldn't describe it. All they could do was tell you the nation that was behind such a beast. But go on.
And it had great iron teeth.
It had what?
Great iron teeth.
Go on.
It devoured.
Now, the reason why it uses the word great iron teeth, because this was a particular nation that used iron as part of its military format. Now, all militaries have some things that work for them. Hannibal, who was the Roman soldier who happened to be black, his major artillery or his major fighting force when he beat his Romans, because he fought against the Romans, he was the African son. He used elephants. See, he came with elephants. They'd never be able to stop them, and they were battlement elephants. See, but now here it's telling us the nature of this, and it says that he break in pieces and he stomped.
And stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Go on.
And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
Go on.
And it had 10 horns.
And it had 10 horns. Now that's history being divulged to us. Now listen carefully. Go back. And let's see if we can break this thing up. Daniel chapter 7, verse 19. Read.
The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 19.
Go on.
Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast,
Go on.
which was diverse from all the others.
So it's trying to let you know that all the other beasts that came before this beast was diverse from them. Go on.
Exceedingly dreadful,
Go on.
whose teeth were of iron,
Go on.
and his nails of brass,
Go on.
which devoured, broke in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet.
Now, this was the Roman Empire. This was the Roman Empire. This was the Roman Empire. Read on, sir, verse 20.
Verse 20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell.
Hold it, read that again.
And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the...
Now, the 10 horns here, that's speaking futuristically. That's speaking of something that would yet come.
Okay.
This is what's revealed to us in the book of Revelation. Yes, sir, back to yourself, Johannes. Yes, it is the European Union. It is the European Union. But the reason why we can't jump at it right away, because remember, we're dealing with time pockets here. The time of Daniel is a different time. And you've got to remember, and in order for you to understand it well, remember, Daniel was one of the prophets who served different leadership over different spans of time. Because all the leaderships that he served under, one came up, got killed, came down, or captured. Another one came and he served that one. Then likewise, another one came, conquered that one, got killed, and then he served the next one.
That's right.
Daniel is seen throughout the scriptures to be the one man that went through these different groups. He went through them. Now, watch this now. Let's read on.
It reads, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, of the Salaki, and of the other which came up.
And of the other, notice, you see, you can't overlook these words. And of the other which came up. So, this is why we miss this. Because it's telling us that there's another one. Are you getting this? So it said, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up. So that gives us one. Right?
Right.
Talk back to me.
Right.
Then it says, and
Salaki, and before whom 3 fell.
So 3 plus 1 is 1. 4. Now, read on.
Even of that horn that had eyes,
Go on.
and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Now, what does the word stout mean? What does the word stout mean? Yes, sir.
Grace and peace, someone physique.
No, sir. Go on.
Stout means strong and resistant. Stout.
No, it doesn't. I know why you believe it means that. Can you please switch that thing off? What does it mean? Now remember, when you look up a word, does it have only one definition? Exactly. So what you must do is don't get bogged down with the first definition that comes to mind. The word here that it is using, it also points to, it says stout than his fellows. And what it means is proud. Proud, pride, proud, pride, pride, proud. Forgive me for being overly redundant with this, but if I don't, you won't remember it. Yes, you think, well, Solomon is big and strong and burly. No, this is speaking about his pride. Read the latter clause of that verse again, sir.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 20, latter clause.
And before whom?
Khan. Shalakia.
There's the middle there.
Yes, sir.
And before whom 3 fell, even of the horn.
Got you. That had eyes and a mouth, that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows.
Right. Look, it's speaking about his proudness. All right? Now, let's see if we can iron this out just a little bit here. Go, if you please, to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, and verse 31.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 51.
Verse 31.
Oh, Shalakia. Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 31. It reads, Behold, I am against thee.
Now, I'm going to stop because I need you to pay attention to this. There's a reason why I want you to see this. All right, read it again, sir.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 31.
Read.
Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud.
See that?
That's it.
Read it again, sir.
Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 31. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud,
Go on.
saith the Lord God.
Now,
of
it's
hosts.
using the word most proud, meaning that this particular man, this particular nation is more proud than all the nations of the world.
That's right.
Read.
Saith the Lord God of hosts, for thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee.
I'm going to visit you. So it's letting him know I'm coming for you. That's what he's saying. See, the Most High had put the scripture in a way that it sounds very eloquent and very commodious. We're good with each other. But really, if you were to read it in the raw sense, it says, I'm coming for you.
That's right.
Read verse 32.
Verse 32. And the most proud shall stumble.
So what?
Shall stumble.
Go on.
And fall.
Read.
And none shall raise him up.
When he comes for this particular man, this particular nation, he said, when I'm done with you, no one will be able to pick you back up. Now that sounds like some fighting words there.
That's right.
Read.
And I will kindle a fire in his cities.
That is nuclear missiles. I will kindle a fire. Read.
In his cities.
Read.
And it shall devour all around about him.
All around about him. Con.
Con.
Go to Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. Now, again, I've been trying to show some of you brothers that as much as the scriptures tells us one thing, it also tells us that there are sometimes 2, 3, and 4 meanings to a word. That's why don't get stuck on one meaning, because then you won't be able to rightly divide the word of truth. So, Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. Let's read.
The book of Malachi, chapter 4 and verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven.
That shall what?
That shall burn as an oven.
Now, what we're just reading here is your precept that goes all the way back to Jeremiah chapter 50 and 31 and 32. That's your precept right there. So again, if you're precepting your Bible, you need to have that scripture in there. If you haven't written it in, you're going to have a problem down the road, because you'll ask me you'll answer the same questions you're answering now, and hopefully this will take you a step further. Con? All right, so finish it, sir.
Come.
Start again.
Malachi chapter 4 and verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven,
Go on.
and all the proud, yea.
Hold it. All the what?
All the proud.
Jump back and read what we just read in Jeremiah.
Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 31. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord God of hosts.
All right, so we see that it's speaking about the same person, right?
Con.
Okay, now let's go back. Let's read.
Come, Malachi chapter 4 verse 1. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble.
Shall be stubble.
And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts.
Read.
That it shall leave them neither root nor branch.
That means when he burns Babylon, when he burns up the earth, nothing will be able to grow for a long, long, long season. That's right. Because he's going to burn out the root of it. And and we just read, if he burns the root and he leaves nothing there, then nothing can grow. It will be a barren land. Now, let's go back to Daniel chapter 7.
Come.
And let's go back, if you please, and read from verse 20 again.
Yes, sir. The book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell.
3 fell. So, here it says, and that's what we're going back over it. It says, so let me read it again for you. And I'm going to read it slowly, and I want you to follow it, if you please. And of the 10 horns that were in his head. Now, it's speaking both figuratively and futuristically. Meaning, the horns were on his head. That's why he looked like a monster. And it was indescribable to Daniel. He couldn't match an animal like it because they'd never seen anything like it. But notice the scriptures is telling us that that the horns that were in his head, also explaining to us these horns was in the mind of this creature or this nation. It was his plan, was in his mind, that he's going to have 10 subsidiaries in the future. Are you seeing that?
Yes, sir.
Because usually we just read it and just see the horns, and it's the horns and that's it. No. The horns shows you a type of creature that exists in the mind of Daniel from a visual context. But it had even deeper ramifications because it was speaking about 10 controlling groups that would emerge in the future. We are living in the age where those 10 exist here and now.
Come.
Now, isn't that something? But watch this. So we see that it's both natural in terms of the horns and figurative, meaning has some meaning in terms of a mental or plan for the future.
Come.
Then it says, and of the other, meaning there's another one in around here. Now, the reason why I've got to do it this way, because see, for the longest time, I used to read this, and I only thought there was 3. And you know why you keep going over something? When you go over, you begin to say to yourself, hold on, it's not making sense. And then you begin to see, aha, there is another one here. And of the other which came up, so there's one, and before whom 3 fell. Now the 3 that fell happened to be a nation of people. Now, those who fell, who can, let's see if you've got some history of the Civil War. Who was America against? Because by now, if you haven't figured it out, that one that came up is America. That's America. Because remember, this is speaking futuristically. That's why I said don't narrow mind down only to one group. Now, and I'll tell you where you got it from. Well, I told you, of course, but I'll tell you where you got it from. Go back to 2nd Ezra, chapter 12. Let's see. This was meant to be a short lesson. Are you guys, are you okay with it being a longer lesson? We've got to make a part 2 of it.
Right.
Let's read verse 12.
Yes, sir. Chapter 12 and 3.
Chapter, that's a good start, but let's start from the top, come on down. Because I'm thinking about our Detroit brothers. I want to make sure that they get it as well. So
Come. The book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 12 and verse 1, it reads, and it came to pass, while the lion spake these words unto the eagle.
See, so 2 nations. Now, do we remember who the lion was?
Yes, that was the Persian meats.
No, sir.
I'm sorry, the lion. Britain.
But what I say, you got to pause, think, and answer.
Britain was a lion.
Right, no, it's not speaking about that. Now, the lion that we're dealing with here. Quickly go to Jeremiah 4 for me, just real quick, sir.
Yes, sir. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 4 and verse 4.
It's either 4 and 4, 4 and 6, I'm not sure, but go to 4 and 4 first.
Yes, sir.
Let me go there too.
Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 4. Circumcise yourselves.
No, so it's got to be 6.
Jeremiah chapter 4 and verse 6. Set up the standard towards Zion.
Go on.
Retire, stay not, for I will bring evil from the north.
That's it. Now, north is in this case, is speaking of the Americas, where we are right now. So it says, go on.
Come, set up the standard towards Zion. Retire, stay not, for I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction.
Go on.
The lion is come up from his thicket.
Stop. So we'll leave that. That ties in to another scripture, but I don't want to go there. I don't want to start precepting that because it'll take us away from where I'm trying to keep us focused on, right? So you see, it's dealing with the lion there, right? We just read. Go back to Daniel chapter 7 and verse 4.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 4. It reads, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings, and beheld till the wings thereof were plucked.
So the wings what?
Were plucked.
Were what?
Were plucked.
Were plucked. All right, go on.
And it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man.
All right, so we see here that in Daniel chapter 7 and 4, it's dealing with Babylon, right? Talk to me.
Yeah, yes, it's Babylon.
Babylon, right?
Right.
So if it's dealing with Babylon, Then, when we go now to 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, read it again, please.
2nd Ezra, chapter 12, verse 1. And it came to pass, whilst the lion spake these words.
So whilst Babylon spoke to, go on,
Spake these words unto the eagle.
unto the eagle, America, read.
I saw, and behold, the head that remained, and the 4 wings appeared no more.
Right. So the 4 wings that appeared no more was Alexander the Greek because he died.
Con.
Is that making sense now? You've got to make notes so that you can remember it down the road. Now, when we read on, it tells us,
Con. Says, behold,
and the 2 went unto it.
got you, and set themselves up to reign.
Go on.
And their kingdom was small and full of uproar.
Full of uproar. This that he's speaking about here is full, Rome. It's dealing with Rome now. All right. I don't want to get into that, so I'm trying not to explain it too much. But verse 3, read.
Verse 3. And I saw, and behold, they appeared no more, and the whole body of the eagle was burnt,
Go on.
so that the earth was in great fear.
Go on.
Then awaked I out of the trouble and trance of my mind, and from great fear, and said unto my spirit,
Go on.
Lo, this hast thou done unto me.
So now this is speaking about Romulus Augustus. That's another period of time this is speaking about. Come on.
Okay.
All right. So that we have that understanding, jump down now to verse 11.
Con, verse 11.
And again, forgive me if I'm not going into all the detail of the scriptures. I just don't want to take your mind from the area of the lesson that we're dealing with tonight. Come on. Let's go.
2nd Ezra chapter 12, verse 11. The eagle whom thou sawest came up from the sea, is the
Now
kingdom.
remember, we know what the sea was. What was the sea? What was the sea? Go ahead, sir. The Mediterranean. Thank you very much. Go on.
Con, the eagle whom thou sawest came up from the sea,
Go on.
is the kingdom which was seen in the vision of thy brother Daniel.
So Daniel saw all of this. Is that making sense to you so far? Everybody clear so far?
Yes, sir.
All right, now, to take it a step further, we want to go back now to where we were in Daniel chapter 7. And we're going to read verse, I will read, I just want to read verse 20 just to make sure that it comes out the way that I want people to understand it.
Con,
And it says, so we have the other, and we have the 3 that fell. So 1 plus 3 is 4. Can't? Now, with that, the 3 that fell, make a note of this. England, Spain, and France. Now, how you may be saying, how you say that those were the ones, which are the 3, preacher? How do you get that? Well, remember that the United States of America had been fought over by the English, by the Spanish, and by the French. That's how when you check the country's history and its locations, you'll find that there's still French quarters in certain parts of this country. I'm not bothered to talk about the names of it. I hope that you know your country well enough to know what I'm talking about. Then we also have Spanish sections of the Americas also. And we have English sections. Because remember when the English fought, many of them wanted, in fact, they set up places like Ohio because they wanted to make it a country. Because much of the states that you see were meant to be countries that would be controlled and lorded over. But they became part of the United States of America. But their whole purpose initially was that there would be countries that you'd have to pay license and have passports to pass from one to another. But that no longer is the case because it became under one United States of America. Make sense so far?
Con, yes.
Am I going too much over
No.
and covering people's mind?
No.
All right, you have a question, sir?
Well, that also simplifies the communities too. They got the French quarters and English and the Mexican deals. That's different areas and cities also.
Yeah, that which comes under that is where we get the term ghetto from, because the word ghetto is not a bad word. We've made it a bad word, but the word ghetto is not a bad word. The ghetto, or the word ghetto, has been used going all the way back to biblical time. That's why you had a section of a city that certain groups of people lived, and another section of a city that another group of people lived. Those were called ghettos. Not because they were broken down and run down, but because this is where certain nationalities lived. It's become a bad word today of poverty because America has made it that way. Con?
Con.
All right, so when we go back now and we see that these three groups were destroyed by America. Why were they destroyed by America? Because America wanted to have full control of the country. So they defeated those three nations. Con?
Con.
Now, when we go back and read verse 21.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 21. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints.
Now, these three nations that you see here, in terms of the English, the Spaniards, and the French, they were what you could call a pre-existing European Council. They were like what was going to happen in the future with the 10. But they were in control back then. Destroyed or taken out of control of America, America now becomes what it is. Con?
Con.
All right. So let's read verse 21 one more time, if you please.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 21. And beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them.
Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? Go ahead, sir.
Prevail?
No, the whole sentence. Read it again, sir.
I beheld, and the same horn made war with the
The
saints,
same horn made war with the saints
and prevailed against them.
and prevailed against them. Yes, sir.
Is that talking about the Civil War? When we was in the Civil War, when they put us in slavery?
No, sir. Not the Civil War. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I was thinking slavery.
It is slavery. Because, read it again slowly, sir.
I beheld,
I saw,
and the same horn
and the same horn that took out Spain, England, and France, go on,
made war with the saints,
they made war with the saints. They have been warring with the so-called African Americans for hundreds of years. And finish it.
and prevailed.
Prevailed mean that they have won over them. They've taken position over them. The so-called African America has been under the foot of Esau in this country. And the ones who rise or scratch their way from under the soles of their shoe are the ones that have been prepared to compromise. Every one of them have. You'll notice, look at Jay-Z, look at all of the rap artists. When they were all coming up, they all wore gigantic chains around their necks and thick wrist bracelets, diamonds, and all the rest of it. And notice when they come up to a place of higher, where they no longer need to show their or wear their wealth, you don't see none of them wearing chains around their necks or gigantic rings or anything like that. None of them. The ones who have truly made it don't wear any of that garbage. But the ones who are still trying to show that they are of some worth are wearing the gigantic chains and what do they call the teeth thing again? Grilling out their mouth and all that business. They're not doing that. There's pictures of Jay-Z when he used to have all the chains on. You don't see that no more. A billionaire doesn't do that anymore. Even the NBA players who started out used to have chains. They don't have that anymore. All of them that started out that way, they don't do it anymore because they don't have to prove their wealth no longer. Which really shows their subjugation to Esau. Interesting, isn't it? Right, we're going to stop there because I don't want to ruin the taste of this because it gets a little bit heavier. So let's leave it there. All right? All right, any questions from anyone here or anyone online? Any questions at all? None? All right, no one online? Anyone online, ma'am?
No, sir.
All right.
But could you give a synopsis, just an overview of what you just covered here? So what have you said? What has been the main theme of what you just taught us?
The main theme is to discover who are the four carpenters and who are the horns.
So the four carpenters.
Right. Let's go back to Zechariah.
Chapter 1 and verse 20.
Let's read.
You want me to start at verse 18 or no?
Yes, sir. Read 18.
Come. The book of Zechariah, chapter 1 and verse 18. Then lifted I up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, four horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel.
See that? These are the horns that did what?
Scattered Judah.
Scattered Judah.
Israel. And Jerusalem. And the Lord showed me four carpenters.
Four carpenters. So the crux of this is the horns and the carpenters. All right, so if there's a title, the horns and the carpenters. Now, will we know the full conclusion of this? I can't jump ahead to that. No, sir, not until next week. But the key is, right here, is that, look, people have read this book for years.
Right.
And over the years, me coming up, I used to hear all sorts of nonsense, and I can only put it as nonsense, that people used to use when it comes down to the term carpenters. Now, answer me this. What does a carpenter do? What's the purpose of a carpenter? What does a carpenter do?
He builds.
He builds. But also, conversely, what can a carpenter also do? If he builds, what's the converse of that? What's the opposite of that? No. What's the opposite of building? Destruction. So, that's why we have to see this word carpenter in a new light. Because it's coming to us out of Zechariah. And remember, once we understand Zechariah and what the Most High God used and set him to do among his people, we can begin to see something. Then the word horns. And remember, I gave you a clue as to what horns often is referred to from an Israelite standpoint. So, having those two things gives us some kind of barometer as to where we are going to go down the road. Because we have to discover this. And notice we're only dealing with verse 18 through to the end, which is verse 21.
Okay.
And in those few verses, the 4 verses there's a whole lot. A whole lot. Usually what people do, they don't deal with it. They touch it and they skip from it. But notice, we spent 45 minutes going through this, and we still haven't even got halfway yet. And I thought we could skip right through this, but you can't because you have to explain it. Can't? All right. Anything else, man? Anything else from the other brothers? Yes, no, yes. Go ahead.
You said that the four horns of the Hebrew, to remember the Hebrew altar has four horns?
There are on the Hebrew altar. If you Google Hebrew altar, it will show you 4 horns on the Hebrew altar. It has nothing to do with the altar. That's just to give you an idea of, right, exactly. All right. At this time, I hope, Cap, why don't you say a few words and dismiss our online group?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Khan. I'd like to also give a good shalom to all those who are online. Please wait till next week to get to the other end of this story about the 4 carpenters. You will be surprised. For those who don't understand this teaching yet, I never heard this teaching yet. Also, please keep up with the our YouTube page. Give us a thumbs up or a like. Also on our Facebook page as well, and on our Instagram. We also encourage those to, if you have any questions, any comments, please hit us up also on our website. And also, last but not least, give a shout out to those who are far abroad over there in London. Also to our brother Dominic. Also to our brother Azariah. Also to those who are nearer in Detroit, and also our Detroit camp. And also those who are in Dallas, Texas, brother Rabba, and those who are even closer to us, that we give you a hearty shalom. Please stay tuned and keep up with us on our weekly Bible studies every Wednesday. And last but not least, anything else I don't want?
That's it, sir.
All praises.
We see everyone on the Sabbath.
We see you on the Sabbath, and we always leave you saying, Yahweh Ba'Shem HaMashiach Yahushai. Selah.
One more, sir.